Hello. Hello, everybody. I'm on a different computer because the other computer, I installed the new Mac, a newer Mac OS, and it's just being annoying. Moral of the story, this is something I should have done over the weekend, but I've never had time to do it, so I was like, well, I'll just do it after my show, but then it's taken forever, so anyhow, here I am. This is an AV Geeks lunchtime streaming show when we watch old 16mm films. And so behind me, you can see the scanner, and you see that there's a white thing there. That's foam core, because this next film we're going to watch is warped. And if we don't put that foam core there, then it will fall off the reel, and everybody will cry. So here's a new film that I got. I haven't seen it. We'll see what it is. All right. Child of Bethlehem is what it says. Okay, here we go. Enjoy.
Today you are to hear the story of the birth of Jesus Christ and of his life unto his 12th year, according to the Gospels of Luke and Matthew. Luke says, "Many writers have undertaken to tell of those things which we followers of the Christ believe, just as they were told by the people who saw them. And because he had investigated it all carefully from the beginning, he decided to write a story of it so that you may know the truth about these things. In those days, an order was given by the Emperor Augustus that a census should be taken. So everyone had to go to his own town to be registered. And Joseph went up from Galilee to the city of David, called Bethlehem, because he belonged to the house of David, to register with Mary, who was soon to become a mother.
It is not far to Bethlehem.
Do you think we will find room at the inn?
I'm sure we will, Mary. Wait, I'll ask here for shelter.
There is no room for you here tonight.
And she wrapped him up and laid him in a manger, for there was no room for them at the inn. There were some shepherds nearby, keeping watch over their flocks through the night. And the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were afraid. And the angel said to them, "Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this will prove it to you. You will find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger."
Glory to God in the highest. Glory to God in the highest. And on earth peace, goodwill toward men.
Come, let us go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened. We have come to see the newborn child.
They told what had been said to them about this child, and all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said. But Mary treasured up all they had said and pondered over it. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem, in Judea, in the days of Herod the king, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem.
But, Rabbi, did they know that Jesus was then born?
Yes. For Matthew says, they came asking,
Where is he who was born King of the Jews? For we have seen a star in the east, and are come to worship him.
If any other than Herod is born to be king of the Jews, I know not of him.
We will inquire elsewhere.
Have those strangers followed, and observe where they lodge. Watch closely that they do not pass through the gates. I go to Herod the king. Word has been brought that there is born a new king of the Jews.
A new king? Let not the bearers of these tidings depart until I have heard their story. Bring in the chief priests and the scribes of the temple. Tell me, where is this child who is born a king?
In Bethlehem of Judea. For thus it is written by the prophet, "And thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah. For out of these shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel." Then Herod privately called the wise men to question them.
How do you know this to be true?
We have seen his star in the east.
And when did you first see it?
We have seen it at different times.
Then you do not know exactly when the young child was born. Seek him in Bethlehem. And when you have found him, bring me word, that I may come and worship him also.
And when they had heard the king, they departed. And lo, the star, which they saw in the east, went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was.
We have come to worship he who was born King of the Jews.
And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned of God that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country. angel of the Lord came to Joseph in a dream, saying, "Arise, take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him."
Your Majesty's orders have been carried out. We have slain every male child in Bethlehem of 2 years and under.
You are certain every one was slain?
Not one was spared, Your Majesty.
What ails you? Speak, woman. Speak.
Your Majesty's youngest son.
What of him?
A fortnight ago, he was sent to Bethlehem.
Then I have killed him, too.
And when Herod was dead, Joseph took the young child and his mother and came back into the land of Israel and lived in a city called Nazareth.
Jesus, he says he knows where our treasure was buried long ago. Come along.
Not now. We have to finish this work today.
Oh.
Which way to Jerusalem, lad?
Up the hill and follow the road to the east. It is a long day's journey.
Not for legs like mine. Farewell.
I wonder if Goliath was that big.
Goliath the Philistine? He must have been even bigger. Remember when he came out against David, his staff was like a weaver's beam.
David must have been a very brave boy.
And you too shall be as David.
No, I shall never be like him, for I could never kill anyone.
Now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. And when they were returning from the feast, Jesus stayed behind without their knowing it.
Sirs, have you seen our son? He's been lost 3 days, a little boy of but 12 years.
It may be that he is the boy of whom we have heard, who was honored by the priests of your people. Seek him at the temple.
He's been with the teachers of the temple, listening to them and asking them questions. Everyone who hears him is astonished at what he knows and the answers he gives.
My son.
My child, why have you treated us like this? We have been looking for you and have been very much afraid.
Did you not know that I must be about my father's business?
And they understood not the saying which he spake unto them. And he went back with them, and came to Nazareth, and was subject unto them. But his mother kept all these sayings in her heart. And Jesus increased in wisdom and stature, and in favor with God and man.
What's Skip's hair doing now? Yeah, some of those actors in that film were real good, and some of those actors were not good at all. And what a weird thing. It's like you start off with a period piece of them telling the story, and then they do a flashback to this other time. And yeah. Anyhow, so I'm on my different computer because this other computer is acting up, and you know, this might be the end for this computer. I might have to completely wipe it and start from scratch because it is a big pain in the butt. In the meantime, let's learn about breaking the sound barrier.
Cracking the sound barrier in the X-1 marked another milestone in aviation history. The time, October 14th, 1947. The place, Air Force Flight Test Center at Muroc, California. The pilot, Captain Chuck Yeager. Captain Yeager was selected to test the top performance of this rocket-propelled research vehicle. He found it to be a sleek and sturdy aircraft designed by Bell to fly faster than the speed of sound. The X-1 holds 5,020 pounds of fuel, nearly 1/2 of its total weight when launched. The delicate process of fueling takes 1 hour. The rocket engine propellant is made up of liquid oxygen and water alcohol, the latter being pressurized by gaseous nitrogen. Great caution must be exercised during the fueling operation, since the fuel system in the X-1 has an explosive potential equal to that of its own weight in TNT. In the rocket blast, sonic beads can be seen during this test firing of the engine. A special electrical igniter is used in the combustion chambers to fire the rockets. With all 4 rocket tubes firing, the X-1 will produce a thrust of 6,000 pounds. The engine occupies a space 19 inches in diameter by 56 inches long and weighs but 210 pounds. A special pit has been constructed into which the X-1 is lowered for loading into the B-29 mothership. This bomber has been specially modified for aerial launchings of the X-1. Due to close clearances, the loading procedure takes a considerable amount of time. The X-1 is suspended by fabric straps with cable holders. After many months of planning, testing, and preparation, the X-1 becomes airborne on its first attempt to exceed the speed of sound. A climb must be made to 30,000 feet to reach drop altitude. While the B-29 with the X-1 ascends to altitude, radar goes to work tracking the mission. The aircraft's flight data will be telemetered to the ground crew throughout the flight. The B-29 has now reached drop altitude. The time for release is drawing near. For high-altitude flight, Captain Yeager wears an emergency pressure suit as he enters the cockpit of the X-1. A manually operated elevator provides safe access for the pilot before the drop. With the checkout of the launching procedure completed between Captain Yeager and the crew of the B-29, synchronized timing begins. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, drop. Scores of people connected with the X-1 flight program have expected the aircraft to surpass the speed of sound, and maybe this is it. With all 4 rockets firing, Yeager climbs to 56,000 feet in less than 2 minutes. And he does it, the first human to crack the sound barrier. Now, with propellant exhausted, Yeager reduces his speed and altitude to come in for a dead stick landing at 160 miles per hour. At this hot landing speed, the X-1 rolls for more than 2½ miles. And one of the Air Force's best-known flight test pilots has just set the pace for further research in upper air investigation. This flight marks the first milestone in the supersonic chapter in the history of aviation. And you were there.
And you were there. I love the beginning of that sequence where the Department of Defense logo flies in like it's cereal, some sort of cereal logo or just some sort of logo. Yeah, totally dig that. All right, so I'm still rewinding here. I'm going to have another film set up, but in the meantime, so I've been working with a bunch of National Archive films, which I've been periodically showing you. And so this is New York University Television Workshop. Enjoy.
The great American skyscrapers become a part of the fastest growing new industry in the United States. Television, the fascinating shortwave medium of sight and sound. Atop the big towers are television transmitting antennas, each of them sending out millions of electrical impulses a second to direct a stream of electrons on distant television screens. Because the ultra-shortwave radio vibrations do not travel far beyond the horizon, the antennas have to be high to cover a large area. Thus, the tall buildings in America's cities become natural elevations from which to send this modern means of communication and entertainment. But the other end of the circuit, the receiving sets in countless homes, is perhaps the most important. For although the technical side of television has long been known to scientists, this new medium will open new horizons in education and entertainment to all. From apartment buildings to trailer camps, television is now penetrating into every walk of American life and to a large part of the American countryside. 2 million new sets are being produced every year. For Americans, as sports-minded as any other people, One of the biggest things in television programming is athletic events. Television cameramen covering the games from several angles capture all of the highlights for the fans who can't be in the stadiums. Baseball, America's #1 sport, and one which has a season running for half the year, is #1 on television too. But today, you no longer have to be in the grandstand to see and hear what's going on. The technicians of television have provided the eyes and ears so that the faraway fans can follow what is happening the very instant it is doing so. From remote pickups, all of the play as it is going on is immediately transmitted to thousands of homes. Seated comfortably in the living room, a family can watch each thrilling move the instant it takes place. These two boys hope to be big league stars themselves someday. They don't miss a bit of the play on the field. Not everyone can squeeze into a stadium which holds people merely by the thousands. Television holds them by the millions. The athlete's audience is vastly increased. Horse racing is also high in U.S. sportsdom and high for television cameramen too. Here again, complete coverage is afforded the viewers, in this case men who have stopped briefly at a local club. Having only a few minutes to spare, they can easily see that certain race and especially that certain horse. The sport of kings, and brought with all of its excitement miles away from the racetrack. A major segment of the mass television audience is children, and for the youngsters, what else is better than magical make-believe? The wonderful animals and characters of the puppet shows have an eternal charm. It's the same for the television kids of today as it was for the boys and girls of 100 years ago. Besides entertainment for children, television is also valuable for educating them. Already it is serving in classrooms and schools, and its uses for teachers are limitless. To run this gigantic new industry, many, many people are required, and thousands more will be needed as television daily grows larger. Everywhere, U.S. educators are preparing to fill that need. Here in a class at New York University, young men who hope for careers in the technical side of the industry learn how television is actually transmitted and received. They study all of the complex equipment, beginning with the sensitive iconoscopes that pick up an image so that it can be ultimately turned into pictures on a television screen. Other classes are necessary for still another side of the television business, and that's the side before the television camera, the performers, writers, and directors. They too must have scientific knowledge, but for a different purpose. In this class, conducted by New York University in a major television studio, men and women who plan to work in the creative fields of the new medium learn firsthand about the tools of their trade, the image orthicons, lights, microphone booms, all of the elaborate paraphernalia that is necessary to produce a television show, whether it be a simple sport or news event or a full-dress production within the studio. In the United States, television, like radio, is a matter of private enterprise, and as such is very competitive. With this competition in mind, technicians and cast alike strive to attain a flawless production. Tonight, this television workshop rehearses a play of its own. One of the instructors assigns various students to cameras, lights, and other pieces of equipment, and advises them carefully as to just how the director wants the production shot, from what angles and at what time, and so on. Meanwhile, the director himself is at work with his actors. An all-student venture, even tonight's play has been written by a member of the class. Unlike the theater, where there is usually time for weeks of rehearsal, in television there is generally only 12 hours of preparation for actors. In television plays, every night is opening night. And then the show goes on. The entire production is now in the hands of the director, who must handle his co-workers and their television gear with every bit of skill. What is more, he has to use them within tight restrictions of space and time. What the television audience sees, of course, are only the players, who are on their own now and must be letter perfect. Behind the scenes, there appears to be chaos. Actually, it is a highly skilled concentration of students and equipment, with each tense in the knowledge that their production is now on the air. The director controls and coordinates the lights, cameras, microphones, floor manager, announcer, and sound engineers. He's somewhat like the conductor of an orchestra, but with the added disadvantage of having to worry about a clock, since his show has been allowed only so many minutes on the air. A high point of the students' drama has been reached, and both cast and crew concentrate on getting the best melodramatic effect out of the scene. This, of course, is not a professional troupe or crew. However, these students are working very seriously at gaining experience. For it is with these eager people and thousands of others like them that the future of television rests. Theirs is an industry that was commercially begun in the United States less than 10 years ago, but already offers unlimited opportunities in both technical and creative fields. As an example, this is another television cameraman who is covering a United Nations assignment. Here, from the site of the new United Nations Center in New York, television carries to the millions of far-off people the ceremonies that mark its dedication. President Truman was seen as well as heard in homes and schools in countless communities across the land. The eyes and hopes of the world were here as United Nations Secretary General Trygve Lie placed the 3-ton granite cornerstone inscribed in English, French, Chinese, Russian, and Spanish. With its sensational power for education and entertainment, television has become a true phenomenon of 20th century USA.
Yeah, it's great. It's interesting as far as stock footage goes. People producers love to have footage of people looking at televisions, old televisions, sitting around in the living room. And that one shot with a bunch of kids that are sitting and watching a TV, watching some weird puppet thing with an elephant. They eat that stuff up. So FYI, if you're collecting old 16mm films, collect ones that feature people watching old television. All right, so behind me, I have another film set up, and what do we got here? This is non-swimming rescues. Non-swimming rescues. All right, let's see what we got. Enjoy. All right, this is being a pain. Let's get back to it. In the meantime, let's watch Steel Town.
This is my hometown. It's called Youngstown, and it's in the state of Ohio near the Pennsylvania boundary. In Youngstown, we make steel. We make steel and talk steel. I guess it's the same in Sheffield, England, or that place the Russians built in the Urals, Magnitogorsk. I'd like to tell you something about how we make steel here, and while I'm at it, introduce you to some friends of mine who work in the mills. Look down any street in town, and you'll see the mills at the end of it. There are 25 miles of them along the Mahoning River, and today they're busy day and night. Every 8 hours, the shifts change. 15,000 men to the shift. The men going to work can see the freight trains bringing in the raw materials: iron ore, coal, and limestone. This is the ore. It looks like dirt, but in a few weeks it'll become part of a ship, a tank, or a gun. And in peacetime, an office building, a bridge, or a dam structure. An overhead crane picks it up and carries it over to the skip hoists, which take it up to the top of the blast furnace. In the blast furnace, the boys smelt the ore into iron, the first step in making steel. Molten iron comes out at 3,300 degrees. The slag comes up to the top like cream in a pitcher and goes out the other way. That's Johnny Chonko on the snort valve controlling the blast. When things get too hot, he's got to think quick and move quicker. Peter Zeman's the blower, head man on the shift. He tells them when it's time to stop the flow. And this is Frank Mele, a friend of mine. Frank came here from Italy 45 years ago. He's got his own place up on the hill. Come Christmas, it's full up with his children and grandchildren. Frank doesn't talk much, but I know how he feels about his home, his kids, and the satisfaction he gets knowing they'll grow up with the same chance as the kids next door, or any other kids in the country. This is the open hearth where the molten iron from the blast furnace is mixed with scrap iron and the two purified into steel. I remember the first time I saw it, the size of the place, the noise, the sirens wailing when the big stuff moved overhead, and the heat hitting you like a solid wall. It's something you don't forget. boys are slagging, lining a furnace with dolomite. This protects the wall of the furnace against the extreme temperature. Down the line, Bob Wentworth is charging scrap iron, scrap that came from farms, backyards, and attics all over the country, collected by school kids and housewives to do their part in the war. Next door, Tommy Hughes is giving one of the furnaces a drink of hot iron from the 35-ton ladle. This iron is fresh from the blast furnace. These are the foremen, Bill Riley and John Strauss. John came here from Croatia. He's got 2 sons. The older's a captain in the Army. The younger, Ed, is still in high school. He's a substitute on the football team. Next year, when he gets a little more beef on him, he'll be a regular. Of course, it isn't all football. Education comes first. The principal, Mr. Glasgow, understands the kids. He believes they should help plan their own schooling. Ed's interested in flying, so along with languages and literature, he gets courses in physics and aerology and internal combustion engines. It means a lot to have free education like this for your kids. If you listen in on these youngsters, of course you'll hear them talk about football and dances and things of that sort, but you'll hear other things too. Talk about what kind of a world this can be after the war. Things maybe their parents didn't talk about enough. They know what's going on, these kids, and that's all to the good. Yes, if you listen to them, you get to appreciate how much democracy depends on education. Education for everybody. In the open hearth, the steel's nearly finished. The first and second helpers take a sample. Mike Kubinski's the first. Earl Strong is his assistant. Mike's people came here from Czechoslovakia. Earl's ancestors came from England in the 17th century, when there wasn't much to America but a few colonial villages along the coast. By inspecting samples of the molten steel, the boys can tell exactly when the furnace should be tapped. Earl's a musician. He plays bull fiddle with the Youngstown Symphony Orchestra. No professionals here. They're all steel workers and their wives and daughters. The maestro, Michael Ficocelli, is a timekeeper in the mills, and there's been plenty of bad jokes about that. They're rehearsing a piece by Gerald Meyrovich, a Youngstown boy who's in the Navy now. Steel men get in the habit of doing things together, like in the mill. The open hearth gang ravels out the hole in the rear of the furnace and lets the steel out, roaring and spitting at 3,000 degrees. The pit gang dumps in alloys to give it the special qualities they want in this batch. This ladle weighs 100 tons, but the overhead crane handles it like a toy. Lifts it over to a line of ingot molds where it's tapped off. We call this teaming. Just to be on the safe side, another test is made to be sure that the alloys have been added in proper amounts. The ingots are carried over to the blooming mill where they get their first shaping. It looks rough, but these rollers squeeze the ingots down to a tolerance of a 1/16 of an inch. George Bannon and Clarence Kinney control the operation from the pulpit. They've been doing this together for so long, they work like one man with 4 hands. When the ingots flatten to a slab, Fred Ingram takes over. He cuts a slab with hydraulic shears under many tons of pressure. Fred's a shop steward for the union, which has an agreement with the mill. He represents the workers on the plant's labor management committee. These days they're discussing production problems, and they've been doing a great job up there, working together, planning together, figuring out new ways to make more steel. We've got the machines, like this one in the hot strip mill, where in one continuous operation, a slab of steel is flattened into a sheet. Each roller operates at a different speed, synchronized to handle a slab that's growing longer and thinner and moving faster all the way down the line. This is it, steel. Only a few hours ago it was iron ore. Now it's finished and on its way to become a part of the new world it's building. We've proved we can lick production problems. We've got the equipment, the science, everything it takes to get the job done. But when the war is over, we're going to have other problems. We know about that in Youngstown. We've had it here before. There were times when there was no smoke in the sky. The mills were quiet. The street full of men, angry, questioning, wondering. We're beginning to understand that these things don't just happen in one place, they happen everywhere. We're thinking that all this production all over the world that's doing such a job in a war can do a job in peace too, if we can just learn to work together. And I guess we're beginning to learn.
Steel Town. Remember when I used to show a bunch of steel films, stuff that I got from the Oregon Archive, which was based in Pittsburgh. It seemed like every other film I was showing was about steel, so it's been a long time coming. All right, so behind me, again, I have that film set up, and I think I got it this time. So here we go. Non-swimming rescues. Enjoy.
What a day. Weather's great, food's good, nothing could possibly go wrong. Except it does. If you're between 4 and 44, you're more likely to die from drowning than any other cause except automobile accidents. 7,000 people drown every year, and over half of them never intend to get wet in the first place. How do you rescue someone who's drowning? Like this? Well, yes, if you're a strong swimmer who's thoroughly trained in life-saving. If you're not, a scene like this could easily turn into a double drowning. But there are many ways to make rescues without being able to swim a stroke, and sometimes without even getting wet.
Look, Bob, out there.
The secret is in knowing how to respond, and in realizing that the means to make a safe, effective rescue may literally be at your fingertips.
Grab onto it. Kick your feet. Kick. Hold tight. Kick. 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 Keep kicking. Keep kicking.
Swimmers frequently get into trouble just a few feet from safety. When they do, extension assists are usually the easiest, safest, and most effective rescues. Here, the rescuer simply lies flat on the deck and carefully grabs the victim's arm. If the victim is out of arm's reach, the rescuer can slip into the water while holding firmly onto a stable support, such as the ladder here, and extend his arm to the victim. If he's still out of reach, the rescuer's entire body can be extended while he maintains his hold on the support. Now the victim can grab the outstretched leg and be pulled to safety. Sometimes rescue equipment is available to help with extension assists. A long pole makes for effective close-in rescues, while a pole with a line attached is useful for victims who are a little farther away. The rescuer should always carefully brace himself to avoid being pulled in. When the victim is too exhausted to grasp a pole or line, a shepherd's crook is especially useful. A rescuer can make an extension assist with this device by working the rounded crook under the victim's armpits and pulling him to safety. If the victim is beyond the reach of all extension devices, a throwing assist may be made. A simple, inexpensive heaving line can greatly extend your reach in an emergency. When it is tossed properly, the line will extend past the victim so he can easily grab it. Then the rescuer pulls the victim in slowly and steadily, being sure not to jerk the line out of his grasp. A plastic jug attached to the heaving line can make the rescue even easier. The jug should have about an inch of water in the bottom for stability. The rescuer should always brace himself carefully as he pulls the victim in. A ring buoy is the most effective device for throwing assists. It should be an easily accessible life-saving tool at all waterfronts. If the first toss is inaccurate, or if the current carries the buoy away from the victim, the rescuer should quickly haul in the buoy and toss it again. And remember to pull the victim in slowly and steadily. Sometimes it's necessary for a non-swimmer to make a wading assist, but this should only be done after adequate precautions are taken for the rescuer's own safety. Here, several rescuers form a human chain. This type of rescue is especially useful in strong current. Whenever a non-swimmer makes a wading rescue, he should keep his body inclined away from the victim and towards shore to avoid being pulled off balance. This child is floundering in water just barely over his head, so it is safe for the rescuer to wade in and give assistance. To avoid being pulled into deep water, the rescuer removes his shirt and extends it to the victim. Then he moves gently backwards to safety. Similar rescues can be made using any handy floating object, like this board. Such a device will give the victim temporary support while he is brought to safety. If an automobile is nearby, the spare tire can be used to help with a wading rescue. The tire provides a measure of safety for the rescuer, and it gives the victim an extremely buoyant support as he is brought to safety. While non-swimming assists are useful and can save many lives, there are situations where none of them work. This victim is in deep water, and the line on the ring buoy is simply too short to reach him. A swimming assist is needed. But there are some important basic swimming skills required for even the simplest swimming assists. These skills are known collectively as survival swimming, and they're demonstrated in detail in another film in this series. A double drowning is likely to be the result if a swimming assist is attempted by anyone not proficient in these fundamental skills. It's important to use equipment whenever possible. Here, the rescuer keeps the ring buoy between herself and the victim. This way, she can avoid supporting the victim herself. She is also in a position to let go and swim away in case the victim should attempt to grab her. The key to success in all these assists is common sense. Don't overestimate your own swimming abilities. And look around you for that pole or rope or picnic jug that can extend your reach and save a life.
All right. Yeah. I have a Jersey Mike sub that I was eating. Anyways, yeah, phenomenal. I have a whole series of those films, and I probably have the one about swimming rescues. This one is the non-swimming rescues, of course. And unfortunately, every Memorial Day and Labor Day, people succumb to the undercurrents at the beaches in North Carolina, and sometimes there are double drownings. It's a kind of a bummer. There's no kind of a bummer. It is a bummer. And so, yeah, this is public service to show this, I feel like. Anyway, someone reached out and said, Mike, 1970, you're in Georgia and you're dealing with the hurricane. I'm sorry. We will be dealing with that as well. Helene, is that the name of it? Is coming through, and we have gotten a couple of tropical storms here. But right now, the big batch of rain is actually in Asheville, which is the western part of the state, near the mountains, or in the mountains. And we're getting a little bit of rain and a little bit of wind, but thankfully we had some trees taken down, so my fear of a tree falling on us has been reduced, although there's still some trees left, but they're healthy compared to the ones we had taken down. More than you need to know. Thanks for tuning in today. We very much appreciate it. If you like what you saw, a great way to support us is to either use the Super Thanks button to donate, or to go to patreon.com/abgeeks, ko-fi.com/abgeeks, or Vimeo at skip-elsheimer. And I'm going to be making more and more of a pitch for this because we have a lot of storage units rental that we're paying. Right now it's $1,200, but it's going to balloon very soon because some of them I got a special deal on. But it will probably balloon to close to $1,800. And that's for 7 storage units. So we're taking up a lot of space. And we will be until we finish the renovations here at the archive. So I might try to come up with some fundraising campaign to kind of maintain this. But ways to support us, another way, is to watch other videos that we have on our YouTube channel. Those have been monetized. And so just look up some stuff or just let it roll and watch our channel because we will get some of that ad revenue. It's not a lot, but you know, you like these films anyways, and there's thousands of them. So tune in. But anyways, thank you so much for watching today and for your comments. And we'll be back again tomorrow, weather permitting, because we don't know what's going to happen when the wind. Because when the wind happens, the power might go, the internet might go, but we'll do what we can. Everybody take care, and we'll see you soon.